Oh my God. You think you're the scourge of New Mexico? By God, I am New Mexico. It is Anytime with Ken and Alden. It's a Friday. I've worked out. I've had coffee. I'm Ken. That's Alden.
Yeah, you're like up and about. Your energy level is up. You were telling me you were working out. You're going to the movies later. You're like, you're living life.
Still living life.
You're living life like it's 2002.
Give me that 12-inch python. Hey!
Actually, it might be better than it's 2002.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about pythons. We're going to talk about pythons. We're going to talk about vitamins, prayers. We're going to talk about biting heads off of bats, peeing at the Alamo. There's going to be a lot of storied legacy talk in today's episode. And we'll touch on some other things, other little news bits. Your questions, of course, always welcome. Like the video. Share the link on Instagram, on Blue Sky. You all, by the way, are more than welcome to post about the show on Twitter. We're not there, but feel free. Feel free to help us out.
I'm still on it across the way because I haven't actively participated in a year now. But I sit. It's like having a gold plot of land, like a gold dig site. Like I'm gonna just sit on it. Maybe some gold will show up again.
Sure.
But I don't even know at this point there's a point. So,
in Texas, the great Governor Abbott in Texas just made it so that you can use gold and silver for regular transactions again. So if you are sitting on any gold, because that's what they needed, right? That's the legislation we need.
Card started. We're going back to 1882. You got a gold nugget? You can get yourself some Levi's.
If you know any friends that are sitting on doubloons, tell them that Texas is their place. Feel free to head over there and make the transaction. I have a couple friends that are from Texas or live in Texas.
Same.
Kumar. And my buddy Reed was saying that he has two cousins that are going to go to, I guess, their grandfather's house to try to dig up doubloons that he allegedly buried back there. Now that they can use them.
I'm not here to steal anything. I don't want any part of this. Maybe executive producer credit. You go to your friends. You get Nicky Kumar and his script skills. You got yourself a Netflix series right there called Gold in Them Dar Hills, and it stars two ne'er-do-wells who find a map in their grandpa's belongings, and this happens in Texas, and they go find the doubloons, and they become mad rich fast. Alden, this is writing itself.
This is it. This season on Granddaddy's Gold. This could be something. You all didn't hear any of this. None of you go digging. This is our thing. This is our thing. That does it for the economics minute here on Anytime.
I got your economic minute. I got your economic minute, Alden. It cost me $18.99 to get a giant size sub at Jersey Mike's the other day. $18.99. Yeah.
That's pretty egregious. Although I was saying the other day, all the prices are going up because my Mickey D's order is always the same for the past couple of years, and it is up to 16 now after tax.
Look, our buddy producer Steve dug up those stats in that news story a while ago. McDonald's from 2014 to now is up 100% in their pricing. 100. Taco Bell 82%. That's insane.
Is anything sacred anymore?
You can't even get depressed, Alden, and get 2 cheeseburgers and a fry and cry in your car without it affecting your wallet.
Because of woke. This is what wokeness did. Because of Bidenomics, we cannot have our cheap McDonald's anymore.
You mentioned Fantastic Four. We'll preview that. No spoilers. I'm seeing it.
No spoilers.
We'll talk a little South Park and little tiny weens.
Yeah, we will. Talk South Park. I was telling you off air right before we hit the go live about the Lindsey Buckingham Stevie Nicks news. That's out there for the music heads. So it's just a quick little story. So last week, apropos of nothing, or seemed like it was apropos of nothing out of nowhere, Stevie Nicks posted on her Instagram the lyrics, "And if you go forward, ... And then on Lindsey Buckingham's Instagram, like 2 minutes later, he wrote, "I'll meet you there." And everyone immediately started freaking out, like, "Oh my God, are they getting back together? What's happening?" Wow. And then there was a lot of jokes of like, imagine still being in a will they, won't they with a man you met in the 60s. like you just cannot escape each other no matter what happens. And then it turns out what they're doing is the long out of print album that they did before joining Fleetwood Mac. Buckingham Nicks.
Buckingham Nicks.
Yeah. Buckingham Nicks is getting reissued and remastered and all that. That's good. Is what the announcement is.
Their rock and roll love and unloved story is one of the all-time best. That includes a lot of trauma and tragedy, and it goes on to this day, even with Destroyed. Yeah. They will forever be intertwined. And I'd love for them to have not be back together. I think they have their own lives, but like I'd love for there to be peace, right? I love for that. Lindsay probably makes it really difficult, but I love the ongoing Buckingham Nicks story. This is amazing.
It's awesome because it's like you've been through relationships of ups and downs. I've been through relationships ups and downs, and it can be very stressful. And you sometimes wonder, like, will I ever have a friendship with that person? Will we ever be able to be civil? Will we, whatever that version is for you or for anybody watching or listening? Yeah. And they give me hope that there's never an end to anything. Like you can have a saga with somebody, and it can turn out relatively okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Are you a good breaker up or a bad breaker upper?
I would say, you mean in terms of like, have they felt good or bad, or am I actually good at initiating?
Let me clarify. Sure. Thank you for the pushback.
Of course.
In my 3 big relationships, they have all continued to remain in my life in some way. Some small, some bigger, but always in a positive. Once maybe some of the pain subsided, in a positive manner. There was a lot of mutual respect. My first relationship, which was 2 months with a meth user, didn't continue in that way.
Well, but meth users,
the other ones have. Yeah,
notoriously not great communicators, unless it's to buy meth. But I would put myself at a 50-50. I think if I actually counted, I do think I talked to 50% of them.
Sure.
Some of them, even if the communication is not there, the breakup was respectful.
Okay.
A couple of them we've gone on to have actual friendships. It's almost like time spent and amount invested equals, like, there's a correlating amount of pain and recovery time. So it's like, the person I was with the longest that I actually lived with, we don't speak at all. But that's also because it's like we had a life, so it's a little bit different than somebody that I was like with when I was 20. And it's like now if I see them, it's like, yeah, haha, whatever. But that I think is sort of what I've learned. So maybe you and Meth Girl, it's time to invite her out.
But here's the thing. We eventually did have some communication chat. It was, and she showed up at a comedy one of my comedy shows. This was like years ago, 20 years ago, with her new boyfriend, and it was fine. Like everything ended up fine. And I want to acknowledge, like, look, if the relationship is bad or the person's bad and it's toxic, you don't need. I'm not suggesting you all need to be friends. That's a caveat that I sometimes want to throw in because I don't get one of those, what kind of comments. But
for sure.
And I want to make sure I'm not a people pleaser. Anyways, we're distracting ourselves, Alden, from the major story of the day, which is that how did you enjoy your Galactus $80 popcorn bucket?
Well, let me tell you right now, I don't do the popcorn buckets for any film. Even I have a line. Even I, with a couple Hot Toys here on my desk and Funko Pops and statues and all that, I truly cannot with the popcorn buckets.
There it is. Yes.
I just can't. I think that they're because it's like they are so complicated now. They verge on being statuesque, but then it's like, let me just get a statue. Like, I don't want to display something that is for the purpose of eating. I don't display fine china. I'm not talking about bowls and plates. So it's it's weird. I don't like them. But saw the movie. My non-spoiler thoughts are that it's extremely satisfying in that, much like Superman, it was like, when are they gonna get one? That just feels right. And
right.
I think this is a great start to this next phase of Marvel. I think it's a good, no homework required type thing, if that's anyone's concern.
Yeah,
this is
can be.
as clean of an entry point as you could possibly ask for, because it takes place on its own little earth off to the side. And it's very fun. The retro 60s works. Any concerns that anybody had about Pedro, like, because there was some like, are they just casting him because he's popular? He doesn't fit that character. No, he nails it. He absolutely nails it. The whole movie is very, very fun. It's optimistic. It's a space movie. It feels like a real astronaut movie, especially for the first 2 acts. And it's very, family is the key, is not like a new theme. Like, manage your expectations. You're not going to come out of this feeling like you just watched Oppenheimer or something like that. But it is, it's very, very hopeful, very New York.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm seeing it today. In fact, that's one of the reasons we have a little bit of a, not shorter anytime, but a crisper anytime. I'm going to see it. No popcorn bucket. And I'm same feeling. I think you're a little more negative on the buckets than I am. I'm indifferent to the buckets. I did see the Jabba the Hutt bucket, and I looked at it and I went, ooh. And then everything went blurry like a Wayne's World, like doo-doo-doo. And I just pictured the Jabba the Hutt popcorn bucket at a garage sale that I would have in my future. $1. Wow. And I was like, hey, we're not doing it. We're not doing
$1. Yeah. Knowing what your return would be, or loss rather, like that's real. That is real. And you mentioned Wayne's World. I will say, I should have mentioned it last week. I rewatched Wayne's World for the first time in probably 5 or 10 years. The first one. I haven't seen it. Probably since high school, actually. I haven't seen it. That movie is still funny. I'm happy to report.
It's still funny.
Wayne's World is still good. I got home from work. I had a shitty day that day. I indulged in the devil's lettuce. I made a cup of coffee, and then I killed all the lights. I opened up just a sliver of light, allowing a sliver of light in from my blinds here. That way there was just enough so that I still knew it was daytime. Snuggled up with my dog, threw on Wayne's World, and that might be the most peace I've felt in 5 years, maybe.
You know what? I'm going to do that next week. Thanks, Alden.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that next week.
Snuggle up with your squirrels and your skunk.
Snuggle up with my squirrels.
And watch Wayne's World.
Kylo, the squirrel, almost went in my house yesterday. Yesterday. Long story short.
They tried to sneak in?
No, I went in to pull the trash cans in, and I see this, like, out of the side of my eye, left eye, I see this, like, whoosh, and I kind of like look, and he was on my front porch, and I had the door open, and he was like looking at me, and I was like, oh, he's gonna go inside, and then I made a move towards him, and he kind of waited. I got great video of him waiting out on a lattice work, just waiting for a peanut. But I almost had that squirrel inside, and I would not have let him leave. I would have like, you're mine now. You're in the house. Yeah, we're hanging out. You're
buds. Part of the family. Kylo Knapsack, the squirrel.
Plume's like, no more bucket shaving. No more bucket shaving.
Plume.
He paid to tell us no more bucket shaving. Here's the thing.
How many buckets do you
$1. $1 at a garage sale. That's what they're going to be worth. I stood in my storage shed about 3 months ago, and I had all these Funko Pops and figures around me, and I went, I've made a huge mistake. Like, I've made a huge mistake. I have no emotional connection to these. If you all do,
one day,
God bless you.
One day they're gonna do like the Ken Plume estate sale, and it's gonna be like some
buckets,
old art dealer, and they're gonna be like, one Galactus head popcorn bucket.
It's gonna be like that deleted scene in High Fidelity where Beverly D'Angelo sells her ex-husband's collection to Rob Gordon, except for it's just gonna be, an estate lawyer just spitefully selling all the buckets. And I hope people find joy with them.
Addie says, I really hope someone is keeping track of all the Squirrel Center updates. A good record for the doctors when Ken contracts some sort of squirrel to human illness. But what's fun about this, Addie, is that, like, you're right, but it's like there are Squirrel Center updates across all of the Ken Knapsack podcast programming. So it's kind of like a Knapsack universe where
it's well documented.
The more you watch of Ken's stuff, the more of a full story you get. Yeah. This is interactive.
It's better. Look, I watched some footage the other day of someone who, saved a squirrel that was trapped in like some wires, and then they domesticated it. And I don't know what shots they got, and I don't know if they were faking it because most videos probably are fake. Like not AI fake, but like let's pretend that we saved it. But they were like giving it scritches. I was like, all right, I'm doing that. I'm gonna adopt these squirrels. The squirrel picnic table shows up in 2 weeks, Alden.
Oh, I'm so happy. I cannot wait. This is going to be your most viewed influencer type video when you get to set up your first little squirrel picnic. That's what's going to seal it. Then you're going to start getting invited to stuff.
That's
They're
it.
going to be like, let's invite the squirrel guy to the premiere.
Squirrel influencer is my goal. In the time we have left. All right, Alden. Where do you want to get to? I want your thoughts on Hogan, Ozzy, Legacy.
Hogan, Ozzy, Legacy. It's been a complicated one.
Mm-hmm.
We should note, of course, we've had other celebrity deaths in recent weeks. It's ramping up, but is it actually, or is it just that we're aware of it? You know, like there's always that. Like people always like, there's so many people dying right now. It's like, oh, no, they're dying at the same frequency that they always do. But having these two, you know, the word icon is not necessarily a positive or a negative. So it's like they are both iconic men that passed this week, both that inspired the same multi-generational crowds. They both go back to that 70s period, and then are huge megastars in the 80s, 90s, and then kind of became nostalgia acts and reality TV stars around the same time too. So there's a lot of parallels between these guys. And the weird thing this week, and I'll throw it to you to touch on this, is that the reactions were really an exercise in like what happens when a legacy is preserved versus when one is tarnished. And it's not to say that the Osbournes are above reproach as a family, as an enterprise. Sharon, obviously, as of late, has had some very bad takes about what's been going on in Gaza. So it's like I completely understand that. I'm just talking about her now deceased husband. Sharon has always been, I think, a difficult a hindrance almost in that legacy, and there was even some talk of that this week when people came out and were like, well, we tried to do this with Ozzy back in the day, but Sharon wouldn't have it, like, but recipes. So there's a lot of that, but Ozzy largely, as we've seen, continued on, and literally his last act on this earth outside of his private moments was to raise more charity at a charity concert than anyone's ever raised, reunites his band, has all his friends there with him, goes out in an epic last performance, and then dies. But on the flip, we have also seen what happens when palpable disappointment and vitriol and shame and all this stuff bubbles up over the years and compounds and gets worse and gets worse and gets worse and gets worse, to the point where this same year, Hulk Hogan is booed out of the company that he helped build and is booed on live television or live Netflix streaming. And it was a moment that was celebrated by many of us, of like, yeah, screw that old man. And then he dies, and throw to you texted me, and this is how we started talking about it with each other. You said, my new goal in life is to make sure that no one reacts to my death in this way, that nobody is doing these kinds of posts, because it was a circus. Like, it was fast and rabid, and there wasn't even a lot of like, guys, remember he was a father, like that. People weren't even doing that. It was straight into he's in hell, he's a racist, he was anti-worker, he supported fascism at the end, he's a carny, he's a bigot. Every online parody site had something locked and loaded for him. Like, it was trash, 0 to 100 right off the bat. So did that surprise you at all?
It didn't surprise me at all. And there's some corners. Look, here's what I did the test. I went to Blue Sky, and it was exactly as you described, and it was rapid response. I also went to Facebook, where most of my old friends and former wrestling colleagues are, and it was the complete opposite. Even from some people, I was a little surprised, because they're so politically engaged on what I would consider my side. There was only like one or two who were like, nah. The truth of this man outweighs what I felt for him years ago. And that wasn't a surprise. But yeah, I felt, maybe because I was so plugged into it as a fan and someone in and around the business, I felt it was like people were ready.
Yeah.
Like we know that one day that's going to come, hopefully soon. We won't say any more detail. We'll let South Park fill in the details. But there's going to be that one day, and that's going to be, we're going to be all be Gungans in the street celebrating on that day. And I think this was a warm up for it in a weird way, if that makes sense.
For sure. I mean, this was also kind of a warm up for Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you know, which could happen at any moment. He's in the same age, same roid usage. You know, well, who knows what will happen there? But it was interesting. Now to move over to Ozzy on the positive side, which because that was first, I feel like that was in many ways the opposite, because that's what you want, right? Like it was just immediate. There's beautiful stories and tributes, and Lady Gaga taking her final bow to Crazy Train at her show, and Coldplay doing changes, and like Def Leppard did changes at their show, and Alice Cooper dedicated his show to him. Like it just felt like it was one of the rare times where everybody was like on the same page in a good way.
Yeah, for me, and I want to disclose up top, didn't grow up an Ozzy fan, was never pulled in by his music, and that's just personal taste. But I very much, as a music fan, really understand and appreciate his place in it, and I'm pro Ozzy. I just want to say, but he also, to me, Alden, where I go with these two cases, is you use the word preserve legacy, which I think is correct in a lot of ways, but also I think change your legacy or grow your legacy. Ozzy is one of those people from that era, 60s, 70s, who's got a lot of skeletons in the closet, who's done a lot of bad things, and it ain't just biting off bats. That's comedy. That's lore. Yeah. He was a bad person, right, at times, and through Sharon's help, he always was public of that, and whatnot. He's made changes, and you didn't hear some of the same stories, to my knowledge, but you didn't hear some of the same stories over the last 5, 10, 15 years of him having the same behaviors he had back in the day. And with Hogan, it isn't, him supporting Trump and ripping the T-shirt to have a MAGA shirt. That's almost comic fodder. I'm not worried about that. Who he was coming up, a liar, a manipulator, and eventually, as we discovered, a racist and a bigot, all those things. Who he was remained who he was. And I saw some people post yesterday in my friend circle, Hogan knew Jesus and he's going to heaven. And yeah, Hogan got baptized, he became a Christian. Let me tell you something. I have no problem with that. I've seen the positive benefits of that, and even my parents' life and everything. You could argue about where they are now or some of their beliefs now, but I know it changed them, and I know it was powerful. So this is someone who grew up in that system. When I hear that, I go, yeah, that's great. That's great for him. But he still didn't change. Some of his last acts, the man called Hulk Hogan, post I've become a Christian, I got a Christian tattoo, and I got baptized. Some of his last acts were acts of grifting and racism and supporting bigotry and fascism. Some that he did not change. And Ozzy is an example of, I don't know the details of it as much because I just didn't follow his career as closely, is a lesson in changing. And that's, to me, the big picture of what you're speaking of.
Well said, 100%. I mean, here in the chat, people are having great conversations about how Ozzy helped the next generation of musicians. Like Ozzy was always there to lift people up and cared. And there's so many videos of him like going to schools or talking to young fans that have gone around, or talking about how it's cyclical. Like, there's a really sweet video the first time he met Paul McCartney. And it's like he got into music because of the Beatles, and there are people that he meets that got into music because of him, and he's able to tell them that. And so it all comes around. Hogan, when presented with with an opportunity to make things right, especially after the racist controversy, went to the locker room, and this is, none of us were there. There's no video, but there's multiple reports, quotes from people who were there.
But we know people that were there in a close generational effect. I know people who were there.
It was a real locker room address where his whole point of view was, don't get caught. Be careful what you say, because you could be recorded or videoed. Just don't get caught saying this stuff. With black people in the locker room as well. Like this is not like WWE is all white. Like you literally had the members of the New Day and people like Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, all of whom have no love for this guy, who have been outspoken about him as recently as this year, talking about incidents like that. Like this guy was just an outright bigot and saw no reason to change. And I think both of them are people that have public facing personas that are like iconic and have certain trappings, whether that's visual trappings. Like everybody has an idea of what these two men look like. the glasses for Ozzy, the long hair, the bandana for Hogan, the mustache. Like, and I think Hogan, as we've talked about this just in wrestling context too, when he was still alive and kicking, it's like Hogan is sort of a cautionary tale of like letting the persona become the man and then thinking therefore that there's no accountability. Like, because Hulk Hogan was perfect outside of when he was a villain, it's like I think that Terry Bollea, the man, always felt like, well, I'm above having to change.
Live the gimmick, brother.
Yeah, it's the dark side of live the gimmick. And it's like, it's not that Ozzy didn't also, and that other rock stars don't, but he also accepted fallibility a long time ago. Like when he let people in his house to do that reality show, Ozzy allowed himself to age in front of us. He allowed himself to be goofy in front of us. He allowed himself to be silly. He allowed himself to look like an idiot, like not knowing how to work his phone or how to work Siri and things like that. Like he I think aged gracefully as you can, you know, being open about his Parkinson's battle, which, like, you know, it's not like he has a choice in that, you know, you can't, it's not something he could hide, but to just own it and be brave about it.
He comes across to me as authentic, and I said this in a clip that I put out yesterday that is you know, got some wonderful comments. Hogan was inauthentic. And it's not just because he was in wrestling. Wrestling is an inauthentic business, but that's part of the fun. He was one of the greatest characters of all time. And we can talk, too, about some of the... You and I were off air. We're like, yeah, no, I still hold in my heart some positive memories of Hulk Hogan, the worker and wrestler, and also realize he and Vincent Kennedy McMahon are the reason we're still even talking about wrestling. Dualities of man, and you and I have talked about multiple truths. But you're describing someone, Ozzy, who was really authentic, and as good or bad as the reality era is, and he's part of launching that. I talked yesterday about, and some people jokingly kind of were like, no, he's music, metal, Ozzy, but like him taking the trash out in his sweatpants on TV was huge. It changed the game, and it was authentic, even as fake as reality shows can be. I want to acknowledge that. Hogan never was authentic. And once that got exposed, it almost as if he doubled down. JMB said this, Ozzy may have struggled a ton, but he struggled to be better. Hogan just rotted away as the guy he always was. JMB, I stand behind that comment 100%. I really agree with that.
Yeah, and he never had like the self-awareness to like look at the business and realize, not that it had moved past him, not any of like the wrestling stuff, but like he held on to greed so much that like he never even showed regret over like, yeah, maybe I did screw over the boys, or yeah, maybe it would have been better if other people had been elevated, you know, to my level. Like, there are guys that died way before him with way less money than him that, you know, should have had protections, and it's like, I'm not saying that like the blood of like these guys is on Hogan's hands, but like he certainly didn't help. Certainly didn't help.
I pissed the people off. It's more complicated, but him helping to rat out Jesse Ventura's potential union, and not that and someone was like, no, not everyone in the room was ready to form a union. Yeah, of course, fuck. That's how union meetings work. There's a lot of apprehension, and you know, but Hogan shutting that down in a way that made it final led to the deaths of some of the people we're rooting for. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. It led to the deaths. And I agree with you legally, and you know, is the blood on his hands? No. Yeah. But absolutely, it affected the future of some people's lives and existence.
Yeah, like when you got guys like, you know, Piper that, you know, didn't have their insurance or savings or anything like that, and they go, you know, so much earlier, or Bobby the Brain, you know, who, you know, was sick and went through all these battles. Like, you know, the list goes on and on and on of people from that era that should have enjoyed, you know, it's like, and I don't have illusions about like, you know, because some people love to be like, well, he was the biggest star, you know, like he was, I know. I'm not saying that like, I'm not saying that like a mid-carder right now should be making what John Cena makes. Like, I understand also how business works, but like, but I would also hope that if like somebody was like, hey, I just got released from WWE last year, now I'm sick, that, you know, there would be an obligation to be like, hey, let's help that guy out. But because of Hulk Hogan, there is no obligation.
Yeah. Well, and I want to acknowledge too, because someone will come at us, there's been a lot of documented times in history where WWE will spend money on people's rehab or send them to, and I want to acknowledge that. I want to make sure, just someone will come after us with that stuff. I acknowledge that, but it's different as if it had been a union. It's different as if protections were put in place and all the power wasn't consolidated in one or two men running that company. And people have choices. That's a little bit of the nuance. Like, the business is addictive. The drive for fame is addictive, but the drive for money, this is the way these people, men and women during that time, needed to survive. And in order to do that, you had to be on the road 345 days a year, breaking your bodies, 2 shows on Sundays, and you couldn't stop. You couldn't stop, and it's all kind of it's a lot of Vice episodes. It's a lot of Dark Side of the Ring episodes. But as Jared said, Chad, Hogan is a bit of a shatter point for a lot of that, and I agree with that.
He is, and he, the anti-workers' rights stuff, the racism, all that, but also just like, I never worked with him, I never met him. You never worked with him? Did you ever meet him? I remember.
Have I ever been around him? I don't even think I was around him. I've been around Flair, been around Nash, Roddy, and Michaels, and Roddy I knew, and Beefcake worked the match for us, Sonny, and all. I've been around a lot of folks, been around Jericho and all those guys, but I don't think I've ever had the chance to be around Hogan.
Mick even Foley, being in Florida,
Rick Foley.
Never Foley, I met Foley, spoken with him, and these are, and Foley, no love for Hulk Hogan historically, and Hogan.
Bret Hart.
Did
anyone check in on Bret Hart today?
Brett has had an interesting week of Goldberg finally retiring and getting his retirement speech cut off, and then Hogan dying. Like, everything's coming up Brett right now.
Side note: I watched so on Peacock. I signed up for Peacock again because they have a documentary about Wrestlemania 9, which is one of my favorite WrestleManias, and it's a bad WrestleMania, but it is the reframing of it as it's one of the first spectacle WrestleManias is true. And I was texting. I watched it like last week, and Hogan's all through it, and so's Bret Hart. And I think in a way the doc, I won't say goes out of its way, Alden, but the doc doesn't stop others from burying Hogan in it. So the Fed's relationship with him is that I'm sure they're going to do a nice tribute, and some pop song will play in the background on a well-edited video, and that's going to be fine. But it's interesting, the relationship with it and them and him and his history. So,
hey, but that being said, they did just go into business with him in January. That's why he was on that Raw for his beard. Yeah, so it's like he was still on a Legends deal. They were in business with him. He was just about to team with Eric Bischoff again for like a Fox wrestling brand that they were trying to get off the ground, and guess it's all on Eric now if he still wants to. But like it's interesting, but like even as a man, like what you're talking about, like even in interviews, like it's a meme to say like, oh, Hulk Hogan lies, but like no, like Hulk Hogan does lie. Like he was a pathological liar, and in a business of carnies, that's not uncommon. But like more than any of them, like and not even with a this is how I remember it, brother, or like, I'm not too sure, but I think he says it with complete clarity of mind. He'll say shit like, what's the one that everybody loves? That I was almost the new bassist for Metallica is something that he has like said with his whole chest. And it's like, Hulk, that's not true. Terry, that's not true. Like, and he's not saying it to like add lore to the Hulk Hogan character. A lot of these lies were after he was no longer active. Like he lies about the past, he lies about the present. It's just it's sad. And and like you said, like it's one of those things too. Like I said this to some of the guys. This is not that they had the same crimes or the same misdeeds, but like I feel like the reaction to Hogan dying is also kind of a thematic preview to like the day when Cosby goes, in the terms of like essential to their field, essential to their art form. The culture would not be the same without them. The business would not be the same without them. Whole generations wouldn't have gotten into the art without them. But now here we are. And similarly to like when Cosby goes, we'll all remember the Cosby bits that were good or that we laughed at the most or that we quoted the most. When Hulk died, I flashed back to being at my grandma's house in the summer. This was 2005. It was his last like return angle where he worked part-time. And he came in and did a tag match with Shawn Michaels, and Shawn turned heel on him. And that was the first time I experienced a heel turn live as a kid that still like kind of understand that it was a work. And it, you know, they're doing the poses at the end and they're both hitting it. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, Hogan and HBK, this is so cool. And then Shawn kicks him. And then that's how they ended Raw. And I sat there like, oh my God. And like my uncles were laughing at me because like, you know, how many Shawn Michaels turns have they seen, you know, over the last 20 years prior? And I'm like, that's crazy. Like how could he do that? And then I will say, the match is infamously bad because Hogan pissed Shawn off. Hogan pissed Shawn off again. Hogan screwing people. They were supposed to do a trilogy, and Hogan was like, "No, I got to go over in one.
Brother. I got to go over, brother.
And gotta go over. He's to the like literally they're in their 40s and 50s at that point, and he's still politicking. And he screws Shawn. The match is really bad, but the build up to that match, you can't take away that Terry was pretty good at a build up. Where like they did the promos where honestly Shawn too as a heel, like I'll never forget the line where he says you know, your immortality has a price, and says, and what you gonna do, Hulk Hogan, when the Heartbreak Kid won't lay down for you? And I remember as a kid being like, oh my God, like evil Shawn might win. And now here we are, and Shawn Michaels is bald coaching all of the youngins, and Hogan is dead. So a lot has changed since that program.
No, a lot has changed, and we can talk more about Ozzy. I'm just less adept at talking about Ozzy.
Sure.
But this whole thing is, you know, I keep going back to this phrase. It's a litmus test. It is a litmus test to, hey, when something formed you or a person formed you, and then you learn about them. And what you do with that, and when they continue to show something, again, it would be one thing. I could run down the list too of Hogan moments. I always go to Wrestlemania 9 because it was my friends and I had a toga party. We're Bret Hart fans, and we're pissed off that Yokozuna won, and then Hogan comes out, and we didn't like Hogan. By then, we were one of those groups of like, he's boring, get him away. And we were like on our feet in my friend's house screaming, oh my God, like absolutely positive memories. You and I talked about the Hogan Rock match at, was that WrestleMania 17, 18? I can't remember. I think it's Toronto. It should be taught in all pro wrestling schools. It should be studied for character development. Comics should study it on how to read rooms. Like it's one of my favorite matches in all wrestling. That doesn't go away. It doesn't go away from me. 18. Yeah. It does. None of that goes away from me. They're still there. But it's when you start to learn and you learn the truth, and the person maintains it. It isn't just one of those. Yeah, back in the day he was this, but now he's kind of this, and all this kind of things. And I know he had his friends, and I know he had family. I personally am not dancing on the grave. But it's just funny to see those folks. So I run into it, and you and I run into in other pop culture arenas. I run into the sports world. This comes up a lot on my Sports Card ASMR channel. Anytime I pull a Brett Favre or a Kurt Schilling, I make sure to do something that says, I don't like these people. Yeah. I can acknowledge them as competitors. The bloody sock game of Schilling, even as a Yankee fan, was one of my favorite things to watch in baseball. But he's a complete absolute fraud, whack job. Like MAGA supporter isn't even like that doesn't even matter to me as much anymore as to who they were over the period of time. And we all know who Brett Favre was, and we all know who's one of my friends, and I will stand by her to the end of time over that absolute piece of shit human being. But I always get a comment. Oh, dude, like, how come you talking bad about Kurt Schilling? Such a good player. He was a great player. He was an absolute and is an absolute piece of shit human being. That can happen. And this Hogan thing is a litmus test to those who I've seen some friends who've done, hey, he was this, Hulk was this, Terry was this. And I can live in both worlds. I think you and I can live in both worlds. But J.K. Rowling and all those things, like if someone shows, not just shows who they are, but like if it keeps going on and there's no remorse or something that they do that you don't agree with continues to grow in a way, that's when it's a litmus test for you, what you do as a person. Can you separate? And not just separate the art, but can you change and acknowledge and move on from that and not hold on to it? It's so my favorite word, Alden, feckless. I have so many friends right now who are feckless because like, dude, what I'm getting messages. What are you talking? Hogan was great. Yeah, he was great. He was also a bigot and a racist and a liar and destroyed people's lives. How come you can't acknowledge that? Are your memories of a 9-year-old so precious that you can't let them go or you can't process them to acknowledge who this man was?
And it's like they act like they're like receiving anything from like the Hogan camp or the Hogan Enterprise. Like they act like there's something to be gained from that like protection. And a point you made there, what was the baseball player's name?
Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling, like that example that you gave of like it matters less that he became this at the end, like MAGA, like whatever that is, because what you're talking about is like there is a quality of character that lends itself to MAGA that has to exist first. Like yes, it bothers me that Hulk Hogan's some of his last acts were on the Trump campaign trail, but like Hogan sucked for years to the point where when he became MAGA, it wasn't shocking. Now there are people that did turn MAGA that I was like, oh, like that is really disappointing. Like Stallone, that to me was really disappointing. And like there, you know, I'm sure there are many more, but like, yeah, like Hulk Hogan was always this guy, and it's you know, it's a carny business. Like it's okay. Like people are so uncomfortable saying that stuff, and it feels like it's a lot of the times it's like when there is the hero worship and like lionization of them that I think maybe athletes and icons of that sort get it a little bit more, because people don't necessarily have this problem with Harvey Weinstein, who as we may remind the class, was an amazing producer. Woody Allen, arguably one of the greatest filmmakers, particularly for dramas and comedies. And I mean, is anyone out there defending? Is anyone messaging you about, Ken, how did you say that about Annie Hall? Like Woody Allen's amazing. like no one does that. But I think there's a little bit of like they tie their boyhood that became their manhood to Hulk Hogan, maybe. That is, you know, obviously all of that's a lot of this stuff on especially the right and is about manhood, but it's complicated.
And it's look, I get it in the sports world. Like I was talking to a friend of mine on a walk. We're big sports fans, and to be a sports fan, especially a baseball fan and a National Football League fan, you are swimming in conservative waters. I understand that, and I don't throw up my hat and clutch my pearls every single time someone who I watch says or does something or votes. You know, I don't immediately go like, and I'm done. I'm ripping up their baseball cards. I just think that's what's the point of that? I know where I am, and I know who I am. But when it comes to a point like with the Curt Schilling thing, it wasn't just that he was conservative. It wasn't just that eventually he becomes MAGA. It eventually kind of comes on to QAnon. This dude was hated by his teammates. This dude started a video game company, got a $75 million loan from, I think, Rhode Island, and then it goes under, and it was complete, like, just a mess and fraud. This is a dude that has said sympathetic things towards Nazis. He has been, he's anti-transgender, he's a bigot, and he also is one of those dudes that collects Nazi memorabilia, which, by the way, I know is a thing, and that doesn't immediately make me think a bunch of other things, but when you piece it together, like, oh, the dude who was kind of like sympathetic to Nazis also collects their memorabilia. He was that. And it's like the bloody sock game means nothing compared to that. And it frustrates me, Alden. It frustrates me that that we can't live in a world where not just like two things can be true, but just that you can't acknowledge the truth of these people.
It's fascinating. In a bad way, but it is fascinating that the parasocial nature goes to that length where they just can't acknowledge it. And I do think you can go sometimes so far into the overcorrecting that you become intellectually dishonest. Like I've been on the record about that with like some of the Harry Potter stuff. Like, she's absolute garbage. I will not support it. I'm not going to support this new adaptation. I don't care. I'm not buying the merch, blah, blah, blah. But when it goes into so much of the I can't allow the memory to exist that I'm mental, and the books were always bad and I never liked it, it's like, okay, relax. Like, relax.
Like,
that's just not true. That's just not true. I lived it. That's just not true.
Yeah, and I think
the fact that it's complicated is why it's painful.
Yes, Alden. You and I are really aligned on that in different ways, and I can come off as a grumpy Gen Xer sometimes and everything. But I just and I don't want to overprove my point too. But it's like you know who's an absolute just lost cause is Roseanne, right? I mean, it's almost bizarre. This is just a conservative turn. It's a wow, what's going on here? But recently, not too long ago, I think last year, she returned to the Comedy Store, and I wish I was there because that was goddamn historic. Because she helped kind of build what that place was, and I can acknowledge that. I just would have wanted to witness it. And I can live in that world. right? I'm not necessarily it's a one-to-one comparison to what you're doing, but I get because a lot. I don't want to out anyone. A friend of mine, we have these conversations about some comics, about some of the turns they've taken, and some people are like, he was never funny. Bullshit. He was funny. You know he was funny, and you know that's why this is frustrating. And I'm with you on that. That's why
if
this
he
hurts
wasn't,
so much.
it wouldn't be a topic.
It wouldn't be
like,
exactly.
It was like we would have moved on. He would not have made it to the status to frustrate us.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Like that's my whole thing with, again, not putting words in yours or any other comics you might know about. but that's my Alden's thing with someone like Dave Chappelle, where it's like Dave Chappelle being an anti-trans bigot is frustrating because I witnessed 20 years of Dave Chappelle being brilliant. So it's like, it all exists. And it's not a casting anything on your character to acknowledge it. But for the Ozzy side, I know that wasn't really your scene of music, and I don't claim to be an expert on Sabbath or whatever, but like Ozzy solo, I fixated a lot. I fixated a lot on that in like my early teens, like 13 years old, 14 years old. When I was 14, he released his album Scream, and I really wanted it because the single was playing or something, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, please get me that." And she was at the mall, probably returning something to Macy's. My mom was a big returner of stores, and then
of which I am morally opposed to returning things.
That woman loves to return. And then she probably has store credit everywhere, but then she picked me up the Scream CD from Hot Topic and brought it home and like handed me the CD. I remember this moment. I remember putting it in, listening to the whole thing while I played whatever game I was playing, and I was just like, "This is the greatest thing! Like, this is so great!" And like, I already knew who he was because he was a pop culture fixture. The Osbournes was already a thing, had been a thing. He was in a game I played called Brutal Legend with Jack Black. It was like a whole metal themed game. And I was just like transfixed by this guy. And I would read, I was a big, like, to the surprise of no one, like when I was interested in somebody, I would just like read their whole Wikipedia and watch all their interviews and, just research deep dives. And so I read his biography and was just like so entranced by like the mystique of it, which is something that's like a common theme in my life. Like I love people that are just like larger than life and weird. And I think some of my earliest, like this is my music, like this is in my collection, is tied to him. Little did I know that was toward the end of CDs being a thing where you could have your collection.
Rest in peace, compact discs.
Dude, CDs still unbeatable for me. I am not a vinyl purist. Like I have some, but like it's not like I don't know enough. I don't have a trained ear to be like the fidelity of it sounds fuller. It's the depth. Like I just don't have that knowledge. But I will say that like if I could choose any medium, it would be CDs. I love CDs. I loved having a CD book as a kid. The big black zipper books.
CD
the
books
best.
The best.
Love
I says.
Love them.
I like Tully. I wish for Louis CK to stop being a garbage person all the time. 100%. Laserbolt. Zach Wild was Ozzy's guitar player for a long time. My favorite guitar player. I've met Zach Wild. He was at a bar. I talked about Timmy Nolan's and Toluca Lake before. Keanu Reeves used to go there all the time. Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons used to go there all the time. And Zach Wild was there all the time. Large life man. Very nice, by the way. Very nice. Also smelled terrible. Smelled terrible. Him and Michael Stipe. But he was a great guitar player. I appreciate your take on it. Yeah. And I know Maddie Gunner, our friend. Maddie's in chat, or at least was earlier. Like Ozzy is so much to him and so much about what his music with Mourner is about, and just his Maddie's vibe, and so quite a loss. And talk about ways to go out, to call your shot, to go out on your shield like a Viking warrior. It's going to be, that's an all-timer for what he was able to accomplish.
It's incredible ending. And I was talking to Maddie a bit about it. Like as Maddie calls him, as he is, he's like the creator. Like it's like it's hard sometimes with genres to like pinpoint one band, but like with metal, we actually can. Like we actually can do that. It's hard sometimes with like Where did classic rock start? It's hard. Where did grunge start? It's kind of hard. Where did punk start? You credit a few bands. With heavy metal, it's like, oh no, we all unanimously agree that it started with them, which is a unique quality to it. And happy that he got to go out the way that he did. And again, the contrast of it being the same week and having these two examples, like, it does tell you, like, you want to live a life where people have a funny anecdote, you know, like the one that I shared on Blue Sky was this woman who said that Ozzy went into her magic shop and bought like
I saw that. Yes.
bombs. Like, that's the stuff that I love. I love when those little things come out after somebody dies. And with someone like Terry, Hulk Hogan, Bolea, there aren't any like little teeny tiny stories like him and previous to him. Probably almost 10 years ago now, I think, when Ultimate Warrior passed, it was the same. Like, Ultimate Warrior, like, people just, they told bad stories about him, like, not meeting sick kids and like being like cruel. Like, it's really, like, you don't want to just like boil it down to like be better, but like, Jesus, like, be better.
Right, but be better. No, I think, you know, one of my little pet peeves, and thanks to Ken Plume, it's a stand-up bit that I'm working on, and I've put up on stage a few times, but one of my little like pet peeves is when a celebrity dies and someone shares that really bad art of them going back to heaven, and then the other celebrities they're associated with are there waiting for them. It's just so fucking greeting card bad, especially now that a lot of them are AI. So it's like a 6-finger to Hulk Hogan. So there was one today going around, very cartoony, of Hogan going to heaven, and Iron Sheik, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, and Macho Man are waiting for them there. And I said it to a couple of people, including my buddy Hal Loveland, who co-hosts Tights and Fights, the podcast. And I was like, everyone in this art hated him. Everyone in this art piece hated him.
And also, two of those people are not in heaven. If we are going to Sheik, Andre, Roddy, and Macho, probably yes, but
probably on the cusp.
No, Hogan is the Hogan in Hell stuff. Like, not to be cruel or mean, and you know, but like the Hogan in Hell stuff has been the funniest because it's like, man, I didn't expect heaven to be so hot, brother. Because it's like the jokes people are making are also painting him like he's dumb and self-aware and not self-aware. So it's like he still is putting himself over.
They put me into a special room in heaven because I was so special, and they had the heat up. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's that type of humor. And someone's like, he's gonna look around and be like, "Oh, Warrior, Fabulous Moolah, you guys are here too." And it's
we all made it, brother. Oh my God. Quick side comment. Hugo says, "Wow, Timmy Dolos, haven't heard that name in a long time. Used to go there with WB studio tour co-workers. Good time." Hugo, if you drank there from 2004 to 2012 on Fridays and Saturday nights, good chance we were at the bar together, up or downstairs. I was a regular there with my old roommate during those years, and it was a fun place, and I miss it. And the time I have left here, and again, I want to apologize to me. I got some life stuff going on, helping a buddy this week who recently had a medical emergency. I'm going to be staying with him throughout the weekend. And am I here, Alden? Yes. I just want you to say I'm going to the right heaven. No. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss South Park this week.
Yes.
And I'll start here. I am a early South Park fan. I did stop watching it after a while for no big reason. I saw the movie. I love the movie and also Team America. I like those movies. I haven't seen them in years, whatever. So I didn't pull off for any stance. I don't want to. I am definitely not a hero. South Park did this. I think there's a complicated legacy with the show. I think a lot of the fans maybe took some of the wrong things or the things they were supposed to take from it. We can have that discussion. I'm curious your thoughts on that too, especially as a younger generation representative here. I just think this week was an amazing win that I want to celebrate. You, sir?
Yeah, my thoughts on this week are there are topics within the topics of like some things that like ethically maybe like, you know, we all have our feelings on AI or like what Parker and Stone have chosen to brand as synthetic media, where it's just like, dude, just say what it is. Like, you don't need to come on now. Don't try to. It's like when they call an influencer event an activation. It's like, just shut up. It's an event. So I have there are things about the how that we can talk about, and we have talked about, but the context is so beautiful of CBS Paramount They screw Colbert. Jon Stewart pops off last week. The whole thing. Everybody's bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. But in the background, as we talked about when the Colbert story happened, there was what was a $3 billion deal, and then Skynet. It basically gets whittled down to $1.5 billion. They sign on the dotted line, and then the season can come out. And those of us that know South Park know that and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but just like about the production, is that they can change things to the 11th hour. They can get audio changes in. They will not get that episode like shipped or in this case uploaded until the exact moment they want. And they got their deal signed. And not only did they get all the Trump stuff in, they got the Colbert shot in. They got CBS Paramount stuff in. It was a complete shotgun blast to the entire gross little marriage that is happening. And the merger gets approved now. And all this comes out, and they just paid these guys $1.5 billion, $1.5 billion to roast them and the president. I think the worst that he's been roasted. Like it was, what's his name? Is it Mark Harris? I want to credit this correctly. Mark Harris. No, yeah, Mark Harris, who's a journalist and author. The husband of Tony Kushner, playwright. He writes for Slate, New York Magazine. He was saying this might be the first time that somebody has attacked Trump on Trump's level, like with the same like depravity, and like they, it's beyond just like little dick jokes, but like it was the grossness, the dragging Jesus into it. They hit so many angles at once, and it was deeply satisfying to know that they conned a company in this way.
And you said, I agree that that sentiment there of attacked on his level and on this kind of level, right? Because I'm sure there's comics and Instagram reels and shorts and TikToks we know, but on this level. I'm with you on it. And the other, I want to disclose, I know and I'm friends with the person who did the PSA synthetic media thing, and so that makes it even maybe more complicated in conversations. But I had this little, and I addressed it at other spots, but I love discussing things with more detail with you here, buddy, is when, as all this was happening, and I think I had more of a different take than you a little bit on the Colbert thing, but I've been enjoying all the late night hosts coming together. Then the merger happens, and it's like, you fuckers got what you wanted, and all this stuff. But in the middle of that comes the announcement that, 1.5 billion, which is a huge amount, but the deal was changed, whatever. But 1.5, and it had a little bit of like, ooh, this is ill-timed, right? Like they're kind of getting a little win here, while the rest of us are like wondering what the fuck. And to come out swinging like this, I highly recommend that doc that's out there. What is it called? 6 days or whatever, which is it shows them making an episode and in 6 days it takes, and Bill Hader's in it when he was writing for the show, almost on a lark. And to come out swinging like this, and as you said, the depravity, it was amazing.
Yeah, I was shocked, like watching the PSA part, the live action deepfake portion of what they did. I was like, did this air? Because I saw it first as an unlisted YouTube video, and then I was like, did this air on television? On Paramount? Like it was such a. It felt like it's hard to shock us, right? And it's hard to. At this point in 2025, you and I being plugged in, you and I working in media, you and I liking comedy, like it's very hard for a viral moment or a piece of especially a long-standing franchise. This is their 27th season, so it's like 27 years for it to be like someone sent me that and was like, holy shit, and I was like, unlisted video, what the hell is it? And then I was like, I actually did that. Like, what the, like, went and looked. Like, is this like a thing that are they letting it get out there like this way? Like, and it was to think that this is just how they're starting. Simply, obviously, very different brand of comedy than Stephen Colbert, but the attitude shift of like, well, we're all under the thumb, we might as well just go hard. Because even Colbert, since we talked about it, he goes on for his first episode of the week on Monday, and he also went 0 to 100 straight into well, fuck you and you're a pedophile, like, and that's by his standard pretty aggressive,
by his Sunday school teaching standards. That's pretty aggressive.
That is pretty aggressive, and like you start verging almost on fictional Colbert from the Comedy Central days. So we'll see how that goes for him. Jon Stewart, basically daring them to fire him with his choir of "Go fuck yourself" and jumping up and down and calling them all cowards. Like it's gonna be, maybe if this is the last stand of comedy fixtures created in the 90s, then I guess they should all go out on their swords.
Yeah, no, I'm getting a chance to do it. I was talking to a few people this week about going back to the early 70s when I think it's easy to look at it through the lens of history, but it was just as wild and crazy in a lot of ways. And CBS canceling the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour for straight up censorship, almost at the order of Nixon. Nixon and Hoover following and spying on Lennon and all these kind of people. It's fascinating to compare that to here. I'm not saying it's the same or that the stakes aren't even higher here now, but it's interesting that this is always the battlefield, right? This is always the battlefield, and I was I enjoyed watching what was happening this week, not just on South Park. I enjoyed, like, even Josh Johnson being installed as one of the rotating hosts on Daily Show. I'm not saying was a direct thing, but there's someone who is so not only goddamn funny, but articulate in the way in which he attacks, that it's going to be another tool in the toolbox right now too, as well.
And if we're talking I don't know if comedians use the term work rate in the same way wrestlers do, but
I'll tell you, they do all. You know why? Because every comedian wants to be a pro wrestler, and every pro wrestler wants to be a comedian. We all use the same terms.
that could be a bit in and of itself.
One of my old friends, a lot of people know in this pop culture world, when we met, we were comics. We met as comics, and that one of the reasons we became friends is I got off stage, or he got off stage. I forget who got off stage, and one of us had a big laugh. That's the point of the story. And I said, "Oh, dude, did you hear that audience pop?" And he had worked in wrestling. He was like, "Oh, wrestling fan, yeah." And so it's
ops, dude. But yeah, Josh Johnson's work rate, material he's putting out all the time, and now this, that's a positive swing. But yeah, we'll wrap up here. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, it's as Jon Stewart said it well. Like he was like, "I'm not saying we speak truth to power," and that we're some thing. He goes, but there's a canary in the coal mine thing to televised comedy. There always has been. You can always tell. There's always a if they're not free to do this, then that is a good barometer of where we're at. And in the case of Zelensky, he decided, well, I'll just be president. So
nods the man in his Ukraine hat. And I think quick. The thing, I don't want to go into the whole history of the Smothers Brothers. Tommy was unfortunately complicated. We learned later in his life too. But that this was post Hays Code. This was post the sparkling 50s and early 60s, and Smothers Brothers was one of the first shows to be in front of a large audience and present a image of the time, but be sharp and barbed behind it. And they got the axe. And I think you're absolutely right. It was a harbinger of things to come. And Stewart saying canary in the coal mine. And I think that's definitely what's at play right now. That I can agree with in a big way.
Indeed. So we're gonna wrap here, y'all. Everybody, like the video if you haven't already. Share this out. We'll get some clips out for you. Next week we're back. Next week, I believe.
Yeah,
we're back next week. It'll be our first show of August. This year's moving at an uncomfortable pace. Pace. I don't like it,
especially with the way my personal future's looking. I need time to slow down.
Ken and I will be living together at Steve's house.
I think on November 1st, I might be moving to Baton Rouge. Yes. No, I agree. Next week will be fun. And we'll do it. I appreciate you, buddy. Good conversation. I appreciate you too letting me have a little bit of a shorter show, both you and the audience, as I deal with some life. There you go. Subscribe. Do the thing. Hang out with us.
See you on Fortnite.
Will you?
Allegedly.
All right. Bye.
Bye, y'all.